Next, on Currents News, a deacon in the Diocese of Brooklyn has been arrested, accused of soliciting sex from a minor. Plus, defending the rights of the unborn. A top U.S. bishop is here to talk about the future of the pro-life movement. Then, a single article of impeachment is heading to the Senate. The looming trial of the former president could soon be underway. And
volunteers from a Queens parish aren't forgetting about a population that's been greatly affected by the pandemic. I'm Jessica Easthope with how the outreach hits close to home for one of their own.
That man now living his life's mission. The news starts right now. Good evening, I'm Christine Persichetti. Parishioners at St. Sebastian Church in Woodside, Queens continue to learn about the news that a deacon at their parish was arrested last week. He's accused of attempting to have sex with a 14-year-old. As Currents News' Emily Druby reports, that minor didn't turn out to be a minor at all.
Deacon Rogelio Vega from St. Sebastian Church in Woodside, Queens, arrested on allegations that he attempted to have sex with a teenage boy. This stemming from a police sting operation. The Queens District Attorney's Office says back in July of 2020, Vega started talking with who he believed to be a 14-year-old on the internet, but was actually an undercover detective. Officials say Vega allegedly engaged in sexually explicit conversations. The arrest happened when Vega showed up to what he believed to be an arranged meeting between him and the minor. He is now facing charges including attempted use of a child in a sexual performance, attempted criminal sexual act, attempted disseminating indecent material to a minor, and attempted endangering the welfare of a child. Vega was ordained a deacon back in 2011. At first, he served at Most Holy Trinity St. Mary Parish in Williamsburg. He was moved to St. Sebastian in 2015. The news a heartbreaking blow for the tight-knit community. Father Henry Torres says they're doing everything possible to help their parishioners through this.
I mean, we're feeling devastated. The parishioners, are confused and also sad at the same time. But we're offering all the support we can offer. They can come speak to us, vent. They need to know that we're doing everything we can to protect our children.
Bishop Nicholas DiMarzio of the Brooklyn Diocese penned a letter to their community writing, "You are undoubtedly aware of the deep suffering and hurt that surround any instance of inappropriate behavior, especially when allegations involve a member of the clergy. It can damage, often irreparably, the innocence, the trust, and the reputations of all who are in any way affected by it." He also offered support from the Diocese Office of Victim Assistance.
It can be very angering. It can be frightening.
Jasmine Salazar and her team immediately jumped into action to help, attending this past Sunday's noon mass where Deacon Vega primarily ministered, setting up virtual meetings and making themselves available to anyone who needs help processing this.
Give them a place to deposit that, but also to reassure them of what policies we have in place to keep our children safe.
Once the Diocese of Brooklyn became aware that Vega was arrested, he was immediately removed from all diaconal ministry. He faces up to 7 years in prison if convicted. In Woodside, Queens, Emily Druby, Currents News.
In addition to Bishop DiMarzio's letter read this Sunday at Mass, the Diocese of Brooklyn released a statement reading in part, "The Diocese of Brooklyn is committed to a zero-tolerance policy as nothing is more important than the protection of children." The Diocese of Brooklyn has strong programs in place to protect minors. Some of the measures include creating the Office of Victim Assistance to help individuals who come forward with allegations of abuse. The office provides counseling, referrals for therapy, and other important resources. Every employee of the diocese, including students, undergoes mandatory training designed to spot the signs of abuse and how to stop it. In the Brooklyn Diocese, Bishop DiMarzio meets with survivors and listens to them carefully. One result of those talks is the annual Hope and Healing Mass. To contact the diocese's toll-free and confidential sexual abuse reporting line, dial 888-634-4499. President Joe Biden attended Mass on Sunday, the first time as Commander-in-Chief at Holy Trinity Catholic Church in Washington, D.C., along with his son Hunter and 2 grandchildren. Biden, the second Catholic president in U.S. history, is expected to make Sunday Mass a fixed part of his weekly schedule. The president may need to pay closer attention to the next homily on protecting the lives of the unborn. The White House released a statement on Friday, the 48th anniversary of Roe v. Wade, the Supreme Court ruling which made abortion legal, saying in part, in the past 4 years, reproductive health, including the right to choose, has been under relentless and extreme attack. It went on to say the Biden-Harris administration is committed to codifying Roe v. Wade and appointing judges that respect foundational precedents like Roe. And coming up later in this newscast, Archbishop Joseph Naumann, the chairman of the USCCB Pro-Life Committee, will be here. He called the statement deeply disturbing. He'll also talk about the upcoming virtual March for Life. That's still ahead in this newscast. The new administration is gearing up for a week of executive actions. This as the House of Representatives delivers its single article of impeachment to the Senate, beginning the formal process in the upper house. Daryl Forges has all the day's news from Washington.
A historic meeting highlighting diversity in the Biden administration. The first female vice president and the first black secretary of defense.
Soon to be Secretary of Defense, who when we get finished this will be sworn in a moment.
A major priority for the Biden administration is combating the pandemic. The president is reinstating travel restrictions for non-U.S. citizens who have been in Brazil, the UK, and much of Europe.
This isn't the time to be lifting restrictions on international travel. South Africa has been added to the restricted list.
But President Biden needs the power of Congress to pass a COVID-19 relief bill. The administration is pushing for a nearly $2 trillion plan that includes a new round of stimulus checks, more money for vaccinations, and an increase to the minimum wage.
We need to understand where the money is going. Are these to individuals or to entities that really need the help? How has the first $900 billion we just passed a couple of weeks ago, how has that been distributed?
Timing is also an issue, especially ahead of the impeachment trial of former President Trump. Monday night, the House delivers the article of impeachment to the Senate. It's a ceremonial start to the trial that begins in 2 weeks. In Washington, Daryl Forges, Currents News.
Turning now to the fight against coronavirus, the city is postponing its plans to open 24/7 vaccine mega sites. That's because there's a vaccine supply shortage. The Big Apple wants to turn Yankee Stadium and Citi Field into vaccination distribution hubs. Mayor Bill de Blasio says we have the capacity to vaccinate 500,000 people a week, but just don't have the supply. He did say the Johnson & Johnson vaccine could be just a matter of weeks away. Meanwhile, more church leaders are urging Catholics to get vaccinated. During a virtual conference organized by the Catholic Leaders Academy of Latin America, Cardinal Sean O'Malley, Archbishop of Boston, reiterated the Vatican's stance on the vaccine.
The Church is very carefully observing the ethical implications of this vaccine and wants to assure all of us that the decision to be vaccinated is an ethical choice and that we must encourage people to use this very important tool in the fight against the pandemic.
The distribution of the vaccine was also discussed during the conference. It's a difficult challenge for Latin America, where 96 million people are living in extreme poverty. The pandemic has hit the Hispanic community especially hard, but one Queens parishioner who worked for decades as a day laborer hasn't forgotten their struggles. Currents News' Jessica Easthope went out with him in his monthly drive around Queens, helping to feed the day laborers he once worked with.
Every month for the last 9 years, Carlos Apestegui packs up his truck in Queens and delivers meals to day laborers.
They are coming from South America plus Mexico, people who has no job. They don't have a job, they don't have a permanent job.
The Hispanic community in New York City has been hit hard not only by COVID-19, but the virus's effects on the economy. According to a study by the Center for an Urban Future, more than half of New York City's undocumented immigrants are now out of work. That's why Carlos's work with day laborers, often New York City's lowest earners, is so needed, especially on days when the cold is biting. Carlos is a parishioner at Queen of Angels Church in Sunnyside, and he works there too. But before his permanent job at the church, Carlos knew what it was like to wait online outside for work.
We're Christian, we should help these guys. And also remember, I was part of them, so I know how they feel.
The pain of not knowing how he would support his family as a day laborer has stayed with him. Giving out these meals means visiting his old life and old friends who are still struggling.
That's the big problem now because not many people, one trans people work in their houses.
On Saturday, Carlos came with 2 other volunteers and Father Nestor Martinez. As a Colombian, Father Nestor's passion is working with the immigrant community in Queens. But as a new priest ordained during the pandemic, interacting with them has been hard.
We can really show the face of Jesus Christ to them, and also to tell them that they are not alone, that we are with them, that we are suffering also with them.
This outreach allows him to live out his mission.
When we are with them, we can feel really what is the church. The church is not just the building, the church is outside.
In addition to the hot coffee and food the workers are given, Father Nestor handed out rosary beads, hoping they know God is with them as they wait.
Thank you very much.
In Sunnyside, Jessica Easthope, Currents News.
There's a lot more news headed your way. The Biden administration continues to signal its support for abortion. We'll talk with the USCCB's leader on the pro-life issues. Then, Pope Francis mourns the death of a homeless man near the Vatican as Italy's poverty rates escalate amid the pandemic. And Andrea Bocelli moves his foundation headquarters to Florence, raising millions to help the needy there and abroad.
Now you can help us put your faith in the news. The next time you capture a newsworthy event, send us your pictures or video. It's easy. Go to netny.tv/send us, and you may see your submission on Currents News.
We are just days away from the annual March for Life, and although this year will be different, the event is more important than ever. Archbishop Joseph Naumann, the chairman of the USCCB Pro-Life Committee, joins us now to talk more about it. And Archbishop, thanks for being here. I know it's a busy week for you. You're the principal celebrant for the opening Mass on Thursday. Tell us, why is prayer so important now more than ever?
Well, you know, Christine, and thanks for the opportunity to be with you and your viewers. Prayer has to be the foundation of everything that we do. And I think in our culture and society, we're tempted oftentimes to act, but unless we're invoking the Holy Spirit and the Lord to guide us and the intercession of Mary to lead us, then our activity is going to be fruitless. So, you know, I think if we turn things over to the Lord, and it doesn't mean abdicating our need to work, but to allow the Lord to guide us and to strengthen us for the work that he's asking us to do.
All right, well, Friday was the 48th anniversary of Roe v. Wade. We mentioned earlier in this newscast that the Biden administration put out a statement supporting the Supreme Court ruling, which made abortion legal. You responded saying, "It is deeply disturbing and tragic that any president would praise and commit to codifying a Supreme Court ruling that denies unborn children their most basic human and civil right, the right to life, under the euphemistic disguise of a health service." Can you explain your comments a little more in-depthly?
Yes, I mean, I think Roe v. Wade allows legal malpractice, really, because what other medical procedure are two people involved with, and one comes out dead and the other one comes out scarred spiritually, emotionally, and psychologically. So to call this a health service, that's part of the euphemism. The pro-abortion movement always does that. They mask the reality of abortion, and so it's really disturbing that the president, especially who claims to be Catholic, would do such a thing and would wrap it in this this phony language of it's healthcare.
All right, getting back to the March for Life, tell us how this year's prayer vigil and March for Life will be different because of pandemic restrictions.
Yeah, so the march is going to be very scaled back in terms of the number of people, and the vigil, we can only have 250 people present in that huge basilica of the Immaculate Conception for safety reasons. And so that's going to be different, disappointing, but you know, I think through technology, we're hoping that even more people will participate. The Mass is going to be later this year, so it'll be 8:30 Eastern Time, 7:30 here in the Midwest, and Mountain and for the West Coast, it's going to be a more convenient time for people to watch the Mass. And then we're going to have bishops from Connecticut to Hawaii throughout the night that will be leading holy hours that will be live streamed. So usually after the Mass is over in the Basilica, in the crypt, there are holy hours all night long. But again, this will be an opportunity for many bishops to be involved, leading these holy hours in their cathedrals, and for people to participate throughout the night.
Kind of a silver lining having it virtual. Archbishop Joseph Naumann, chairman of the USCCB Pro-Life Committee, thanks for being here with us.
Oh, thank you, Christine, for the opportunity.
You can participate in this year's March for Life virtually. If you'd like to join in the fight for the unborn, just head over to marchforlife.org/2021 virtual events. There you can RSVP to the event and have a link to the live stream sent right to your mailbox. Again, that's marchforlife.org/2021 virtual events. Suffering through the pain of sciatica, Pope Francis was forced to cancel more of his public appearances. According to his schedule, the Pope was to lead the concluding prayer for the Week of Christian Unity and then meet the Vatican Diplomatic Corps. While the Holy Father was unable to celebrate Sunday Mass, he did lead the Angelus prayer on Sunday, where he prayed for a homeless man who died near St. Peter's Square amid freezing temperatures.
Pensiamo ad Edwin. Pensiamo cosa sentì quest'uomo, 46 anni, nel freddo, ignorato da tutti, abbandonato anche da noi. Preghiamo per lui.
The Pope led prayers for the 46-year-old Nigerian man whose body was reportedly found by volunteers on Wednesday, the same day the Vatican began vaccinating homeless people against COVID-19. Those receiving the vaccine are permanently housed in the care and residence facilities of the Office of Papal Charities. As the Vatican focuses efforts on vaccinating the homeless, Italy is seeing a rise in poverty levels as the pandemic continues to deal a heavy blow to the country's economy. Melissa Bell reports on the pandemic's impact.
Almost a year since the first lockdown, much of Italy is still in the grip of restrictive measures across the country as it desperately tries to contain the spread of a new wave of infections. For the government, it's been a challenging balancing act between protecting citizens' health and reviving the country's economy. The human cost of the pandemic in Italy has been very high, with more than 80,000 dead. But the economic cost after months of lockdowns is also high. According to the Bank of Italy, half of families surveyed in the country said their income went down in the spring during the first lockdowns, and in many places, things only got worse from there.
There has been a change in the people who have been going to the welfare centers. There has been an increase and also change. So right now we have way more Italians than before. Before there were more migrants.
At this supermarket in Rome, run by the Catholic charity Caritas, they help some of those hardest hit.
We can say that the specific situation of poverty connected to the pandemic had impacted to a pre-existing situation of poverty, that the spreading of the virus has made the situation even worse.
According to a report by Caritas, poverty rose during the first 3 months of the pandemic. The charity says it's seen an increase in the number of people asking for help for the first time. These are the so-called new poor, 30% of those they helped.
We have children and a family to take care of. We still have to pay bills and life goes on. We couldn't manage financially anymore, so we went to the church and asked for help.
But there is some hope. Italy is set to get 208 billion euros in loans and grants from the EU as part of a recovery package.
It's very difficult to see when it will be over, because it will depend very much on the speed of the vaccine campaign.
The government's first wave slogans promoting resilience have given way to a sense of fatigue with no clear end in sight, especially for those struggling to make ends meet. A return to normality feels a long way away.
That was Melissa Bell reporting. As a part of their fight against COVID-19 in Italy, Caritas operates soup kitchens, provides dormitories for the homeless, and offers assistance to the elderly. Still to come on Currents News, Andrea Bocelli celebrates his foundation's 10-year anniversary by opening up a new headquarters aimed at helping young people. We'll go to Florence for the details. Do you have a story idea or want to share a tip? Email us at newstips@desalesmedia.org or call our 24-hour number, 718-517-3122. We'll be right back. Singing great, Andrea Bocelli is giving back to his community. His foundation celebrating its 10th anniversary with a move to the Tuscan capital of Florence. Melissa Corsi reports on the News Center's Focus on Youth.
Andrea Bocelli will be heard a lot more around Florence, and that's because his new headquarters of his foundation are right here in the heart of the city at Palazzo San Firenze. This ribbon celebrates the 10th anniversary of the Andrea Bocelli Foundation and its new home in the Tuscan capital. The organization's aim is to continue education and build community among youth. The vocational center, called ABF Global Lab, virtually opened on the International Day of Education to foster growth in the arts.
L'intelligenza umana, se non è valorizzata.
If human intelligence is not valued, if it's not put in a useful position for the whole of humanity, it's a terrible shame. That's why Bocelli is using his voice to encourage youth to create and dialogue. The space took 1 year to renovate, changing multiple times after its original use as St. Philip Neri's oratories in the 16th century. 500 years later, Andrea's wife Veronica Berti says this location was meant to be.
And waiting for a lot of young people to live inside and to bring their experience to us so that we can coordinate and empower the talent every student can bring.
Il bene sta al male come il costruire sta al distruggere.
If we want to hope for a better world, we must work to build it, with the knowledge that good is absolutely stronger than evil, and in the end, it will win. They say their position in life gives them the privilege to help and support others and bring a little bit of joy to the world. A small portion of the work the foundation has been able to do in the past 10 years is raise 36 million euros, provide drinking water to 400,000 people who did not have access previously, and build 9 schools, both in Italy and Haiti. And they say this is only the beginning. In Florence, Melissa Corsi, Currents News.
And that is Currents News. I'm Christine Persichetti. Thank you for joining us because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time.